Hi, my name's Malik, Managing Director of R3 Mortgages, and today I'm with the number one guardian angel himself, Larry Solomons, here from Essex Letting Angels, who's going to give us an insight into the wonderful world of the lettings market. Larry, thanks very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Can you kick off by just giving us a bit of an insight into how you guys are finding the lettings market at the moment?
Yeah, sure. For us, the letting market is quite stable. We are still having landlords come to us with properties for let. We are still having people investing in property. We're still looking at investing ourselves. The prices are quite good. Rentals are quite profitable still, albeit slightly less in the southeast of England, as most of us know. And I can't see much change in that at the moment.
Okay. There are a number of changes that are coming into the buy-to-let arena, especially along the tax changes side. What's been your landlord's reaction to those, especially with regards to the rents they're charging?
I think there's a couple of ways that you can look at it from different perspectives. But for us, our landlords are embracing the change, I think, which as a landlord you have to do. There's two options that you've got. If change happens, you can either accept it and move with it, or you can leave it behind and end what you do as a landlord effectively. We are helping our landlords with the changes wherever possible. So if a landlord comes to us and hasn't been advised, we'll send him off to various people that we know to get the advice that he needs, where he can make the decision as to what he wants to do with his portfolio going forward.
Okay, fantastic. Are you finding many people with the changes? Has anyone come to you and said, that's it, I'm selling up, I've had enough?
There's been a few, actually. And they're not actual landlords of ours, funnily enough. The landlords that we are tended to find are leaving at the moment are ones that can be either cash landlords, ones where their properties probably aren't up to scratch or need fair amounts of work, or where they're going to need to make a lot of changes to adhere to all the new regulation coming in. So, the quality of landlord that we're losing doesn't seem to be that much of a problem, although it is creating a shortage because the property is going out the market.
Okay. Let's say I've bought a property, I'm a first-time landlord and I've never let a property before. Talk me through the process of how you would guide a client along the way in terms of finding a tenant for them.
Okay, there is a hell of a lot of stuff you need to do now to adhere to regulation, compliance. Although lettings is still effectively an unregulated market, there are still criminal convictions that can come apparent. There are still quite a few areas of sensitivity that can cause you a massive issue as a landlord if you don't get it right. We take a step-by-step approach, so we appraise the property initially. We give them a realistic price range to go out and target, and we offer a full service from start to finish, so there aren't no additional prices for this or this. We start from the start, we'll give them an agreed price, and then we'll go all the way through to its finale with them. It starts off with a checklist procedure, which makes sure that we can cover everything we need to and we don't leave anything out through the whole entire process. And that includes certification on anything, be it gas, electric, Legionella, be it an energy performance certificate that's required to be able to rent. There's also a how to rent guide that came as of October the 1st, 2015 with the Deregulation Act, but a lot of landlords are still forgetting these little bits where should there be an issue throughout the tenancy and it doesn't come to light, or it comes to light that this hasn't been given to the tenant, then anything that's been issued to the tenant to remove them is null and void. So you need to make sure that everything's issued when it should be, everything's documented, detailed and signed. We also instigate two new systems. One is a maintenance system that records, tracks and authorises everything through email with the landlord, the tenant and the contractor. And the second one is a signatory email that goes out to the tenants, and it also issues the tenants with the required documentation and asks them to sign for it on one of their devices. Sure. Which means that we have got an audit trail of everything that needs to be done, and it also means we're fully regulant and compliant.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, so once you've got the tenant, everything's been going well, and then something happens and your fantastic tenant turns into a nightmare tenant.
Right.
What do you do then?
Okay, so I'm a firm believer that to be able to control the end result of a tenancy, you need to get everything done correctly at the beginning. And that's vitally important. The law is there to protect landlords, but they will only protect a landlord should they do the correct thing at the beginning of the tenancy. Okay. If a tenant goes sour, traditional landlords, traditional agents rather, will tend to contact the tenant after 4 or 5 days asking for their rent or where is your rent. For me, it's about making sure your finger is on the pulse, making sure you're looking after the landlord's requirements from day one. So we check our accounts every single day. Okay. If the rent isn't there, then we get in contact with the tenant that day. Mm-hmm. We make sure there's a guarantor on any required properties that we feel the need for, yep. And we don't hesitate to contact the guarantor should that be required. And we manage the tenant. Communication is absolutely key. I can't stress that enough to anyone looking to be a landlord or to get into the buy-to-let market. If you can't communicate with someone throughout the process of getting them into a tenancy, then the chances of them contacting you when they can't pay their rent are slim to zero. Yeah. So you need to make sure the communication lines are open. And although it's not probably the best idea to be 100% friendly or nice, you need to make sure that you can keep those lines open. Sure. So you need to be quite give some empathy, some sympathy, but make sure they're in no doubt as to what would happen should they not pay their rent.
What would you say your top tips are that people should consider if they're looking to let out their property? What can they do to achieve the maximum rental income?
Okay, well, obviously condition of properties is number one. Sometimes if you can look at a condition of a property, it might not be in the best of area, but if it's done to a fantastic condition, it will attract people just by the photos that we use to advertise. Mm-hmm. I think from an emotional point of view, I would try and think with your head rather than your heart. Mm-hmm. If you're looking to go into the let market or the buy-to-let market and you've lived in the property that you're looking to let out, it can be quite difficult sometimes trying to separate the two from one another. Mm-hmm. So I would really concentrate on thinking about it as a business rather than thinking about it as my mum's house or the house where I grew up, and just separate that out, and it will give you a lot less to think about, I think, in the long run. I would use an agent. It doesn't necessarily have to be ourselves, but I would do your homework on an agent and make sure that they understand what your requirements are. Yeah. If you have specific criteria, they don't come back to you. They don't give you an inflamed price of rental to obtain your business and then ask to drop the rent at the first drop of a hat when they can't find anyone to view. Do some homework on Rightmove, Zoopla, see if the properties in the area go well, what price they go at. It take you 5-10 minutes to go through Zoopla and Rightmove. And just be aware of the marketplace. Although you may want to use an agent to manage your property, there's nothing wrong with keeping them on their toes. Okay.
With regards to the outlook for the buy-to-let market, especially down here in Southend and the southeast of Essex, what do you think the outlook is?
At the moment, it's getting worse, I'll be honest. Although it's quite stable in my opinion at the moment, rents are on the rise based on the tax implications given to landlords at present. Yeah. I believe that rents will rise again when the foreseen tenant fee axiom comes into play, which has been looked at now by the government. Yeah. I can see that as another reason. And throughout the whole of the southeast, the London bubble tends to be moving slightly eastwards into our area, into the southeast of England. Yeah. I've seen it in various areas in the county, and it seems to be just gaining momentum, and rents just seem to be going up and up and up. At the same time, it seems to the homelessness side of Southend and Essex in general seems to be getting a lot worse. Mm-hmm. And I think that something needs to be done in that sort of area to try and curb those sort of problems. Mm-hmm. And you know, there's quite a big conversation to be had on tenant fees at the moment. It's a very controversial one. Yeah. but it's something I feel quite passionate about, and I think that we need to look into that very, very deeply.
Okay, fantastic. Well, that's Larry Solomons, guardian angel of Essex Letting Angels, and I'd like to thank you for your time out, for sharing your insights into the buy-to-let market. That's enough for us for this moment in time. Thank you for watching, and thank you to Call to Action for producing this video. Thank you.